Hello and welcome back to the channel, and today I'm going to be reviewing Bakuage Sentai Boonboomger. I'll start off by giving my general overview of how I felt about the season, then go into more specifics about the characters, plot, and aesthetics. So without further ado, this is my review for Bakuage Sentai Boonboomger. So for my overall thoughts, Boonboomger was an entertaining season, but it just felt a little underwhelming, especially coming after King Oger and Dawn Brothers, which switched up the formula so drastically, and Boonboomger feeling like really generic and back to basics. Even if there is some innovation, especially when it comes to the suits and the action, it overall is just a very generic Sentai experience, which is just kind of a letdown after so much innovation. It was still a lot of fun, and there were some good ideas, but overall, it just felt a little underwhelming. Now I'm going to talk about the characters. They're pretty much the baseline of what I expect from a Sentai team. Not too great, but overall not terrible. Tai is definitely my favorite. He finally breaks the mold of Red Rangers having to be annoying loudmouths, with him being mostly a chill guy, while also still fitting the mold of a Red Ranger, and just his motivation for being a Boonboomger and wanting to help people is really cool. But other than that, he's not that deep of a character. I like Chashiro, but he's mostly a no-nonsense blue stereotype. I really wish his backstory was expanded upon, and just his turn in the end game was just so predictable on how it would turn out. That was just lame. Mira's a generic Pink Ranger, probably as generic as you can get. Joe is definitely my least favorite Ranger. His performance is just so disingenuous, and he just has a lot of really annoying moments. Even though in the end game he has some pretty good moments. Overall throughout this season he's just the least likable. And Genma's cool as a mysterious character, but I feel like his mini arc in the third lap really amounted to nothing. But the biggest missed opportunity was definitely Sakito. He was introduced as sort of a rival character, but he joins the team after only 2 episodes, and even then he never really feels like part of the team because he's sidelined basically from when he joins the team up until like episode 45, and even then he doesn't do much. He always feels like a B-teamer on the team. Like when the Boonboomgers are doing some cool thing, fighting the actual monster, he's off fighting the grunts. And it just sucks because we could have had a cool 6-Ranger dynamic, which we haven't had since like Abare Killer. Sakito got literally nothing to do, and that sucks because I like his personality, so it ends up just being a huge waste of potential. And then when it comes to the side characters, I don't really care about them. They're fine. They're not too bad, but they don't really leave an impression on me. Now I'm going to talk about the villains. And unfortunately they're not that good. I like the Sandseeders, they're probably my favorite villains in the season. I like comedic villains, and they remind me a lot of if you combined Cleon from Your Soldier and the 3 villains from Go Onger. And I especially like Decatrade, but as villains they're just not intimidating at all and can't be taken seriously. Madrex is definitely the best general in the season, and really the only general I think is any good. I just really like his relationship with the Sandseeders, and I honestly feel like he should have just been the main villain, because as is now he's only around for like 7 or 8 episodes, and he's by far the best villain in the season. Spindo as the main villain is alright. He's definitely a lot more intimidating than the Sandseeders and can actually be taken seriously, and has an interesting relationship with Bundario, but he just takes way too long to show up at all, and even in the final lap it takes him 9 episodes to do anything. And then the ISA was an interesting idea, but they just weren't used enough throughout the season, and that sucks because they're a villain that can't just be beaten by punching them, and that would have been a really interesting departure from Sentai, but it just isn't how it ended up. And in the end they got dispatched really easily, so they just ended up being a waste of potential. Now I'm going to talk about the story, which is probably the weak point of the season. It's split up into story arcs like Kamen Rider, but that honestly just feels like marketing because I never really feel like it's used in any meaningful way. Most of the season is still filler like pretty much every other Sentai season, so it never really justifies it being separated into story arcs when there isn't really that much story. The first lap is definitely the best in my opinion. We get the closest thing to a core 3 that we're probably going to get ever again, and that was just a really nostalgic feel. And the team joining throughout the lap was paced really well, and that ended up being the best lap by a pretty wide margin. But lap 2 is really where the season started to go downhill. It's pretty much all filler, except for 2 episodes introducing Boon Violet, and then even the episodes with Boon Red 119 were just 3 completely unrelated filler episodes. And not to mention Cannonborg was the worst general, and he was the general during this lap. Lap 3 had promise, as it had Genba's mini arc, and it honestly brought a pretty good status quo change with Genba leaving the team, but it really ended up amounting to nothing. When he left the team, it didn't really feel like anything changed, and then when he came back, it felt like nothing really changed. So I feel like that was just a wasted opportunity. The final ep probably has the best quality episodes. Episode 37 and 44 especially, those are the best episodes in the season. But as like a final story arc, it definitely didn't work. The final ep starts at episode 36, but it just is filler until episode 44 instead of setting up an end game or anything like that. So it just felt like it was just buying time for no real reason. But once episode 44 came around, which is the best episode in the season, the end game was pretty good. It's probably one of the better end games I can remember. With that being said though, it really messes with the tone of the season. It was a pretty goofy season overall up until that point. And then it has probably the darkest end game arc I can think of. So it kind of just is a really crazy tone shift, and the rest of the endgame arc is completely serious. So it's just kind of weird because you can have seasons like Boonboomger which are goofy most of the time, but they can still have serious moments without completely tearing away the goofiness. I really feel like they didn't really know how to handle the different tones in this season. On another note, I feel like the cameos were really stupid and unwarranted. I know they were for the new mecha toys, but why couldn't they just have TTFC specials instead of jamming it into the season itself? They just feel like really intrusive. They don't really fit at all. Even though it is cool to see them back, it just is such a waste of time. Now I'm going to talk about the aesthetics, which is a really great part of this season. I really didn't like the suits at first. I thought they, especially the helmets, I thought they looked pretty stupid. But now I think they're honestly one of the best looking suits. And I think the helmets look awesome, especially Boon Red with the type of red that they used. It looks so great. And also like how the suits are just a different material than just a normal spandex that it usually is. The one exception is Boon Violet. I think that's one of the ugliest Sentai suits I've ever seen. The action is also incredible. By far the best action Sentai's ever had. And probably the best part about the season, what made me want to come back, is what new thing they'll do with the action. Basically every single episode has such a cool action scene that does something new. Even though as the season goes along, the action definitely goes slower back to the mean. Overall, it's way better than basically any other action before. King Oger had cinematic action, but most of that was attributed to slow motion. Boonboomger just had like awesome action overall. No matter how you looked at it, it's easily the best action that we've ever had, and I hope that it's a trend going forward that the action is just this much better than it usually is. The mecha is fine. A lot of them just look really similar because they just use Bundario as the base, and I don't think it looks great, but it's fine enough. And the music is really good. It probably has the best instrumental tracks out of any season. It's so awesome sounding. The opening theme is pretty good, and the ending theme is catchy. So overall the music is really good. So in conclusion, Boonboomger was an entertaining season, but it just felt too generic and was underwhelming in comparison to Dawn Brothers and King Oger's innovation. I still had a fun time with it. For most of 2024, it was the only thing I looked forward to in superhero time, and there was a lot of fun moments, but I think just the story held it back really severely, and all the random cameos didn't help either. There's some good ideas, just not great execution and a lot of missed potential, but at the end of the day, it's Sentai, and was highly enjoyable, and I would recommend it just for the action alone, because that's how good it was. And in the end, I had a really fun time watching it, and I'm glad that I did watch it. Thank you for watching, and hope you enjoyed the video. It's kind of sad seeing Boonboomger end, as I'm not entirely excited for Gojuger, but it's still an anniversary season, so I want to see what it brings. After Gojuger's premiere, I'll make a video on my first impressions of Gojuger, and then after that I'll make a video ranking every single Sentai that I've seen. So thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed. Feedback is always appreciated. Have a great day.